Good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to be here this evening and in the next few days with all of you. I convey my sincere gratitude to the authorities of the Sivananda ashram for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to discuss Vedanta with all of you. You know, they say that it's all determined by karma. So a teacher gets the students he deserves. Now, I think my karma must be really good because there's so many wonderful seekers here this evening. We'll get right to the subject. Vedanta, which is the fundamental philosophy underlying this place, the Sivananda Yoga tradition, Swami Sivananda, Swami Vishnudevananda ji, and all they were monks of the Vedanta tradition. The philosophy basically says that there is one infinite existence consciousness bliss underlying all of this. We think that there are, what we see are people all around us, there are plants and animals and all sorts of non-living things, chairs and tables in the hall and all of this, stars and planets. But what Vedanta says is, all of this is an infinite ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. We do not see it that way. We do not understand it that way. When we look at ourselves, what we think of ourselves, what seems immediately obvious to us is that we are bodies. When we look further inside, more subtly, it seems that we are minds, thoughts, emotions, ideas, memories, a person. But what Vedanta says is, we are that same existence, consciousness bliss, Satchidananda. We do not know it. The difference is between ignorance and knowledge, between knowing and not knowing. And it's a big difference. Swami Vivekananda, he would often say to people when he was visiting in the West, if only you knew yourself as you truly are. What would happen if we knew ourselves as this infinite ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss? Well, the result is overcoming of suffering and attainment of bliss. Atyantika dukkha nivritti, overcoming complete cessation, transcendence of suffering. Paramananda prapti, attainment of ultimate bliss. So this is basically the quest for not just Vedanta, for all of spirituality. In fact, what we are doing in spiritual life is looking for real wellness, real happiness, real lasting joy, profound peace and joy, overcoming suffering. The entire quest of the Buddha, that there is suffering and a way out of suffering, finding nirvana, a way out of suffering. So the essential message of, in fact, in all spiritual paths is basically this, that there is a possibility, that it is possible to overcome suffering. There are different ways of doing this. These ways are called yogas. That's why the name is there, the Sivananda Yoga Ashram, different ways. We hear of Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, the Yoga of knowledge. What we are going to speak about today and the next few days is basically the Yoga of knowledge, a path of philosophical inquiry, where it is said that our real nature, we do not know it. And if you come to know it, if you get an insight into what you really are, what we really are, then the problem would be solved. We would get peace and joy and we would overcome suffering. That's one way of looking at it. It's interesting to contrast this with other paths. In the path of meditation, the yoga of meditation, Patanjali Yoga, the yoga of meditation says, no, the problem is not really ignorance and knowledge. The problem is the mind is restless. The mind is restless. Calm down the mind through meditation, and the reality about ourselves, the real self, will reveal itself. When you study the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, what is the whole purpose of yoga? Chitta vritti nirodha, cessation of the modifications of the mind, calmness of the mind. Like an ocean without waves. You see the ocean out there, it's got so many waves incessantly coming. Like that, our minds also have waves. continuously. Thoughts, emotions, ideas, feelings, desires, they all are arising and subsiding. If all of them could be calmed, the promises in the Yoga Sutras, the promises, if the modifications of the mind are calmed, then like a lake or an ocean which is very calm, you could see through to the bottom. You could see through to what we really are. If the mind becomes like a calm lake and you see through to the bed of the lake, the what they call the Purusha, the conscious self, you see through and you realize that you are this immortal consciousness. So the way they put it, notice, they say the problem is mind is distracted, mind is restless. Calm down the mind and you've done it. Along comes the path of devotion. And many people, they do not like to think of this as, I am God, I am one with God. This does not appeal to many people. A different kind of approach could be, not that I am God, does not interest me so much, but God exists. And I love and worship and adore God. So the path of bhakti yoga, in that they say, the problem is not so much knowledge and ignorance. No. The problem is not that the mind is distracted and the mind has to be calmed through meditation. No. The problem is faith and lack of faith. In surrender and lack of surrender. Love of God, that is the solution. The problem is that we do not love God. So bhakti yoga takes its stand on faith, on love, devotion. The path of meditation, yoga of meditation, takes its stand on calming the mind, concentrating the mind. The path of knowledge, as the name suggests, takes its stand on knowledge to overcome ignorance. We do not know who we are, and we must know who or what we are. There are certain advantages to this. You will immediately notice that the path of devotion, it demands faith. You have to believe it. You start with belief. And many people today find it very difficult. In the assault of the new atheists, I don't know if you have you come across Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins or Sam Harris. They're big in the United States now. So tremendous attack on conventional religion. People find it difficult to believe, to start with belief. It's very difficult in the modern world today. That's where the Patanjali yoga, the yoga of meditation, comes in and says, you don't have to believe. You practice these techniques. We will show you how to meditate, how to sit, how to breathe, how to meditate. And if you do it seriously enough, long enough, then you will get certain extraordinary experiences, samadhis, which will prove to you the truth of spirituality. So look at the difference between the faith-based approach and the experience-based approach. The faith-based approach starts with faith. You have to believe to begin that. In the experience-based approach, the faith is all not so important. What is more important is that you practice these techniques and get those extraordinary experiences. Now, I'm saying all these things to distinguish them from the path of knowledge. In the path of knowledge, it's not so important to believe something. It's more important to understand, to get an insight. If you contrast it with the path of yoga, of meditation, there certain extraordinary experiences are promised. You do these techniques and you get these experiences, and then you know that spiritual life is true. But here is the important thing. In the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, what this text is about, the interesting thing is, we are not looking for extraordinary experiences. The interesting thing is, you are asked to, we will see, to focus on an experience which we all have. For example, the experience of waking. Like right now we are all awake, hopefully. Or the experience of dreaming. We all dream. Or the experience of deep sleep. All of us have deep sleep. So waking, dreaming, deep sleep, available to everybody. The path of knowledge says, look at those and we shall lead you, we shall point out your real nature using those experiences. Or, for example, the method of the 5 sheets. Annamaya, the physical sheath. Pranamaya, the vital sheath. Manomaya, the mental sheath. Vijnanamaya, the intellectual sheath. And Anandamaya, the bliss sheath beyond the intellect sheath. And all of these, we all have it right now. And using these, Vedanta says, I will point out what you really are. We can actually get an insight. This book uses another experience, the most common experience we all have, the experience of seeing and the seer and the seen. You are seeing something. If you open your eyes, you will see this hall. This is what you see, and you are the seer. Very common, very simple. It begins with that and leads you to something extraordinary. In the path of knowledge, what is demanded is you follow carefully. The text will show to us our real nature. Vedanta says that you are Brahman when? Right now. For all time, right now. It's not, you don't have to wait for death and going to heaven and then you see God. No, you are that right now. Where? Right here. Right now, right here, the divine is with us. Our real nature is divine. We are Satchidananda right now, right here. Now that creates a problem. The problem is this. If I said God exists in heaven, that's why you can't see God now. You die and be a nice person and you die and then you go to heaven, you get to see God. In the United States, when I was traveling and saw these big billboards, after you die, you shall meet God. Call number so and so. So that's one approach. And that's a safe approach, because then if you ask me, why can't I see God? I'll say God is in heaven. That's why it's a different place. This is at one place and that's another place. That's why you can't see God. It's a different time. This is one time, and that is after we die, we get to see God or go to the other place or whatever. So, but Vedanta, if it says you are Brahman, you are one with God right now, you can ask. You can ask. If that's so, then why can't I experience it? Why do I not experience it? Why do I only experience this little miserable existence as one little body? Why? And Vedanta says the reason is that it's not really hidden from us. The only thing that stands between us and that knowledge is our own ignorance. We can indeed come to an experience, come to a realization of our divine nature right here, right now, within ourselves. So that's the context of Vedanta. I'll just make it more precise. Vedanta itself has many schools. So this is what is called Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. Basic truth of this, the basic teaching is Brahma Satyam. Brahman alone is real. What is Brahman? Literally the word Brahman means the vast, the infinite. Existence, consciousness, bliss. And this world that we experience is an appearance of Brahman. Like a rope sometimes by mistake appears as a snake. Sometimes in the desert you see water by mistake. Sometimes when you look up into the sky in the morning, when you saw blue sky, the sky is not blue. It's just light scattered in that way. That's why it looks like that. So the Brahman itself, Brahman misunderstood, is this world. This world correctly understood is Brahman. We, when we look at yourself, misunderstood, in our ignorance, we think we are this little person. But when we get knowledge, when we understand realization, we realize we are Brahman. Sometimes you chant, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I am of the nature of infinite bliss and consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. That's what it means. I really like this saying. I don't know who said it. We think we are human beings in search of a spiritual experience. But the truth is, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's so true. That's basically what Vedanta is teaching. And with this little text, we shall get a clear insight into this teaching. I don't know, with luck, some of us might emerge enlightened from all of this. Or at least we'll get a good grasp on the teaching of Vedanta. So that's what we are looking forward to in the next few sessions. Vedanta is vast. The Upanishads are the root texts of Vedanta. The Bhagavad Gita is the best known of the texts of Vedanta. The Brahma Sutras are the philosophical basis of Vedanta. Together, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras are known as the triple foundation of Vedanta, Prasthanatraya. They are vast with their commentarial and sub-commentarial literature, like an ocean. But luckily, the masters of Vedanta have written little books like this, where they have condensed the entire teaching. What you get from this, no more than this you will get in all of those vast texts, in more detail maybe. But basic teaching here, it's complete. So there are numerous such texts. Atma Bodha of Shankaracharya, Aparoksha Anubhuti, Viveka Chudamani, Panchadashi of Vidyaranya. This little book, Drig Drisya Viveka, in one version it has, the version which we shall use has 31 verses, that's all, just 31 verses. Another version has 46 verses. Who wrote this book? We don't know. It is claimed that Shankaracharya wrote it, but most probably scholars say that another great master of Advaita, Vidyaranya, wrote this book about 700 years ago in the south of India. His famous book is Panchadashi, which is a much bigger book, but in the same style as this book, Drig Drisya Viveka. One advantage of this book, okay, that's the introduction, finished. Now we are going to get into the text, and one advantage of this book is it gets right down to it. No beating about the bush. Straight away, the most important verse in the book is the first verse. If you don't take anything away from the book, just take this one verse, the next one. Can you come to the next slide? Yes. So, this first verse, don't worry if you cannot read it. I'll chant it out, and please follow. Don't worry about the Sanskrit also. We'll chant it once, and that's the last you'll hear of the Sanskrit. I'll stick to English. This verse is the most important verse in this whole text. If you get what this says, at least half the job is done, if not 3/4 of the job. So this is most important, and we will get into this right away. I'll chant. Please try to follow after me. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Drishyadhivrittaya sakshi. Drishyadhivrittaya sakshi. Drigeva natu drishyate. Drigeva natu drishyate. Very simple verse, simple Sanskrit. And the meaning is also very simple. But as you go into it, it's very powerful. The basic teaching has been given here. Central idea of this text, Drig Drisya Viveka, you find it here. What does it say? This verse has 4 quarters. Every Sanskrit shloka in this particular rhyme has 4 quarters. So 4 parts. It takes you to the truth about what you are, what I am, what we are in 4 stages. 4 stages, that's all. And it follows the simple rule of teaching that you go from the known to the unknown, from what is very familiar to us to what is very profound and deep. So step by step, it will take you in baby steps to the realization of what we are. 4 steps. First step, what does it do? It operates on a principle. Simple principle. Just hold on to this principle. Seer and the seen are different. Seer and the seen are different. Look, for example, you are looking at this book. If you look at this book, your eyes are the seer and the book is the seen. The seen object is the book. Very simple. No profound philosophy here. In fact, it's so simple you'll feel like, yeah, I get it, go on. Your eyes are seeing. You might say, no, I am seeing with the eyes. It's even simpler than that. Let's be very naive. Eyes see, and this is seen, or anything else that you see here, around here. That is seen, and the eyes are the seer. Notice one thing. First thing you notice is the eyes are different from what they see. clearly. Your eyes are different, and this is something different. They're two different entities. The seer and the seen are two different entities. In fact, the only thing that the eyes cannot see are, what do you think? The eyes themselves, yes. Actually, it's pretty simple. It's not what is at a distance that also you can see with binoculars. It's not something that's very small that you can see with a microscope. But the eyes themselves, you cannot see with the eyes. You might say, wait a minute, I can see it in a mirror. In a mirror, you can see the reflection of your eyes, not the eyes themselves directly. In a picture, you can say, I can see my eyes in a selfie. But in a selfie, you can see you can see the picture of your eyes. You cannot see your eyes directly. So the eyes can see only something that's different from the eyes. Seer and the seen are different. One. Another thing you notice immediately, you see many, many things. Right now you're seeing so many people and so many objects here in this hall. Before this you saw so many things, and after this you will see many other things also. The same pair of eyes sees many things. The seer is one, by which I don't mean that we have one eye, but the same organ of vision. Seer is one, the seen are many. The seer is one. The importance of this will become clear later on. The seer is one, the seen are many. Third, another thing notice, that what you see keeps changing. Just before you came to this hall, you saw something else. Your tent or the room you're staying. You saw the path. Now you see the hall. It keeps changing what you are seeing. The same pair of eyes, the seer remaining unchanged, the seen keep changing. Is that simple enough? Yeah. Three things you notice. Seer and seen are, number one, different, yes. Seer and seen are two different things. Number two, the seer is one and the seen are many. Variety. Number three, the seer remains unchanged relatively and the seen keep changing. That's it. Keep these observations in mind. This was the first stage. Very simple. Seer and seen. Eyes are the seer, the world. Rupam Drishyam means world, the forms are seen. Technically, Rupam means, literally, if you see the Sanskrit, it means colors. But basically, it means what you see with the eyes. Let's go deeper. One step, the second step. Remember, we are trying to find out who we really are. The real seer, we are trying to find out. Be aware of the eyes. You're aware of the object now. From here, be aware that you are seeing the object. Be aware of the eyes. The second stage says, the eyes themselves become seen. Seen in what sense? You experience your eyes. You know about your eyes with your mind. The mind is the seer and the eyes are the seen. Seen in what sense? I know my eyes are open. I know this guy is boring me so much I can't keep my eyes open. I know that I can't see well, I need glasses. So I know something about the eyes. The condition of the eyes is known to the mind. So the mind becomes the seer. Seer here means within quotes, experiencer. The mind is the experiencer and the eyes are experienced. Or the mind is the seer and the eyes are seen. What about the world? Still the seen. The world is also the seen. Eyes were the seer first. Now the eyes themselves become the seen and the mind is the seer. I know the conditions of my eyes. Not only the eyes. I know the condition of the body. I'm aware of my ears, of my nose, of all the sense organs. So the mind is the seer now. And the eyes and the rest of the body is the seen. Immediately recognize three things. One, the seer and the seen, again, the mind and the eyes are same or different? Different. You don't sound too confident. The mind is clearly a different entity and the eyes are different. So the mind is different, the eyes are different. Seer and seen are different. Second, the conditions of the eyes and the ears and the skin and the tongue, the many different conditions. Sometimes I was able to see earlier, now I need glasses. I was not able to read very clearly. I went to the doctor and the doctor said, Swami, you are suffering from a bad case of being over 40. Over 40, everybody needs glasses. So you need glasses. So now the conditions of the scene, they keep changing. The same mind recognizes, I could see well earlier, now I need glasses, and so on. So the seer remaining unchanged, the scene keeps, the conditions of the scene keep changing. And the seer is the same mind experiences the various scene, the inputs from the eyes, inputs from the ears, inputs from the skin, and so on. Same observation. Seer and scene are different. Seer remains unchanged. The scene keep changing. The seer is the same and the scene are many. Third stage, let's go deeper. Now the fun begins. So far it's very simple. The eyes and the objects are different, correct. The eyes and the mind are different, correct. Now the mind itself, third step, go deeper. Mind itself. Are you aware of your own mind? Yes. When I'm happy, I know I'm happy. When I'm unhappy, I know I'm unhappy. I feel it. You can't say, I was so thrilled and happy, but I didn't feel it. That sounds very strange. When you are thrilled and happy, you directly feel it. When you're miserable, you directly feel it. When you know something, you understand something, I get it. When you don't understand something, you feel confused and you directly feel it. I don't understand this. When you're trying to remember something, you remember, I remember now. When you cannot remember, you feel, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't recall. So all the conditions of the mind, understanding, memory, feelings, all of them are directly perceived, are directly experienced. We all experience it. Question is, what experiences the different movements of the mind? The movements of the mind, in Sanskrit, they are called vritti, like the waves in the ocean, movements of the mind, thoughts of the mind. They are also directly experienced. So we have to say that there is a witness of the mind within us. There is a witness of the mind within us. And that witness experiences the thoughts in the mind. So this witness, in Sanskrit, sakshi, this witness is the seer. Within you, you are the witness of the mind. That witness is the seer, and the mind becomes the seen. In fact, the mind is as much the seen as this object. This is a physical object. The mind is mental. Thoughts, emotions, memories, ideas, desires. So the mind is seen, and the witness is the seer. We have time up to 9:30, right? Up to 9:45. Okay. More time, the better. So the witness is the seer. You are the seer of your mind. If you know your mind, if you are experiencing your mind, then the mind is also an object, the seen, and the witness is the seer. Again, make these observations. The seer and the seen must be different. If the seer and the seen are different, then we come to a remarkable conclusion. You cannot be your mind. Why not? Because you experience it. If I experience this, then it must be different from me. It is different from me. If I experience my eyes, then the eyes must be different an entity. I am the knower of the eyes. The mind is also known, then the mind must be different from me, the experiencer, the witness of the mind. And this is quite interesting, because what we normally identify, grown-up people, educated people, we generally identify ourselves with minds. And if we are asked to describe ourselves, we would probably say, we are minds in this body, embodied. We are a person. We are in this body. We are a mind. But here you see the mind is also experienced. If the mind is experienced, then the mind is an object, and you are the experiencer, the seer of the mind. There's a nice story about a man in India who went to a Swami high in the Himalayas. The higher you go, the wiser the Swami. I remember seeing this cartoon, I think in Reader's Digest, one person climbs up a peak, and there is this person sitting there with a long beard, and it's obviously a Swami sitting on the peak. And this person climbs up, "Oh, at last I've found you, oh wise one. I've got these questions to ask." And he asks his question and gets some answers. And finally he asks the Swami, "How do I get down from here?" And the Swami said, if I knew, would I be sitting here? So this man goes to the Swami and asks, "Swami, I'm very miserable. I'm very miserable. Tell me the solution." And the Swami says, "Do you experience the misery in your mind? Do you experience the misery?" He says, "Yes, my mind is very miserable. I experience it. That's why I've come to you. Of course, I feel it. That's why I've come to you." Now you know what's coming. The Swami said, if you experience the misery in your mind, then that misery is an object. It's seen. You are the seer, and the seer and the seen are different. If you experience the misery in your mind, you cannot be miserable. You are the knower of the misery in your mind, and hence you cannot be miserable. You are not the possessor of the misery. You are the witness of the misery in your mind. This person thought, what a strange thought. I've never thought about it that way. And the Swami said, think about it for some time. If you actually think about it for some time, it really works. If you are feeling unhappy or down, instead of identifying and hugging that unhappiness, I'm so unhappy. Instead of doing that, you put it there. Here is the unhappiness, and I'm watching the unhappiness. I experience the unhappiness. I am the witness. The unhappiness is an object in my mind. It's a physical object. Unhappiness, mental object. It actually works. Whether it is depression or it is anger or whatever, it works. It calms down your mind immediately. You feel a distance, a gap between yourself and the mind. But this is not the end of the story. The real punchline comes next. The man came back to the Swami and he said, "Oh, Swami, you're right. That unhappiness is an object. I am not unhappy. I am the witness of the unhappiness in my mind. I am the witness of the misery in my mind. I am so peaceful now." And the Swami said, "No, you're not peaceful. You are the witness of the peace in your mind." And that's important. Because, what happens? Whether you practice yoga or bhakti or jnana or whatever, and you get some peace in the mind, oh, the unhappiness is gone, I get peace, and we embrace that peace. What happens is, in embracing the peace in the mind, you are embracing the mind again. And the mind is changeable. It will change again. After some time, when the same man goes down from the Himalayas back to Delhi or Mumbai or somewhere, and he finds himself caught in the traffic jam or something, and he will think, oh, I was so peaceful in the Himalayas with the Swami, or in the Sivananda ashram, we are so peaceful. Now I'm back to New York or something, and so mind is so disturbed again. You are the witness of the misery in the mind, the restlessness of the mind. You are the witness of the peace of the mind also. When you can distance yourself from the movements of the mind, you find real peace. That real peace is not subject to the changes of the mind. That real peace is your real nature. The witness is ever at peace. The mind oscillates between peace and restlessness, between desire and calmness, between unhappiness and pleasure. But the witness is ever untouched by all of this. That witness is the real seer, and Vedanta says, you are that. Tat tvam asi, that thou art. Whether the mind is calm, it's good to have a calm mind, but whether the mind is calm or not calm, whether you are meditating or working in the office, in every case, whether you're caught in a traffic jam or sitting and watching the beautiful the ocean and the beach here in the Bahamas, in every case, the witness is the same. An infinite consciousness, aware, unchanging light, always there. That's what we really are. Over that we put a covering of the mind. Over that we put a covering of the body. And with this mind and body, we experience the world. But this body is like the cloth I'm wearing. This mind is like the shirt underneath. Beyond that, these are just coverings. These are just instruments. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are not subject to the changes of the body. Body will change. No matter how much gluten-free you do. It's healthy lifestyle, yoga, gluten-free, very good. You can manage it. Yes. And you live a more peaceful, get more well-being, good life. But the thing is, sooner or later, the body degenerates. One day this body is going to go. Do I die with the body? Or am I something that survives the death of the body? That was not born with the birth of the body, that does not age with the aging of the body, that does not die with the death of the body. That witness consciousness is right here. It's by the light of that we experience everything. And you are that. Third stage, there's one more stage left. When you hear such a thing, wonderful, this witness consciousness, I am this witness consciousness, great, let me experience it. The fourth stage comes and tells you, Drigeva nadru drishyate. Unfortunately, the witness cannot be seen. Can I see this witness? Can I experience this witness? It cannot be experienced as an object. It cannot be seen. Naturally, because it is the seer. If it becomes the seen, then who is the seer? So the witness is ever the seer. The world that we experience is ever the seen. And the eyes and the mind are the instruments. They are also the seen, part of the seen. But the witness never becomes the seen. The witness is you yourself. And it's a good thing. If the witness became a part of a seen object, it would be subject to change and destruction. Now remember the three observations we had. Witness and witness, the seer and the seen are different one. The seer is unchanging, the seen are continuously changing. The seer is one, the seen are many. That is what is true about you. You are one infinite consciousness. Second, that consciousness does not change. It does not increase or decrease. You are ever the same. And that consciousness is not many. It is one and the same. What you experience with the consciousness are the many. This is the conclusion of the first verse. Let us just repeat the verse again before we conclude today's class. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Drishyadhivrittaya sakshi. Drishyadhivrittaya sakshi. Drigeva natu drishyate. Drigeva natu drishyate. For those who are interested in the Sanskrit, Rupam means forms. Drishyam means what is seen. Lochanam means eyes. So the eyes, Drik means seer. So the eyes are the seer, forms are the seen. Tadrishyam, that means the eyes themselves become the drishya, the seen. And the mind, manasam means the mind. The mind becomes the seer, Drik. Then in the third step, Drishya dhivrittaya sakshi. Dhivritti means modifications of the mind, movements of the mind, waves in the lake of the mind. Those become the seen, and the witness, sakshi, the witness is the seer. And then the last one, that seer never becomes the seen. Drigeva natu drishyate. That can never become an object. That's what it says. Should we conclude now? You have a little bit of time? All right. Oh, very good. Usually I run short of time. Some of you might think if you take one verse for one class, you're never going to get around to finishing any part of the text. But actually, we have done 5 verses. Doing these 4 steps, the next 4 verses just explain this first verse. Verse number 2 explains the first quarter, step 1. Verse number 3 explains step 2. Verse number 4 explains step 4. And verse number 5 explains step 5. We can cruise through that like cruise ships. We can easily cruise through that and we will understand it. We have just done all of those 4 verses. I will just repeat the Sanskrit. You don't have to chant along with me. Next, verse 2. I'll just tell you the meaning and you'll see we have already done this. The second verse says, Nila Pita Sthula Sukshma Rasva Dirghadi Bhedata Nana Vidhani Rupani Pashyed Lochanam Ekadha. This is step 1. The eyes by themselves see a variety of forms, dark colors and light colors and heavy gross objects and very subtle objects, big objects and tiny objects. All of these forms are seen by the same pair of eyes. Eyes are different from these objects. Eyes are the same and the objects are many. The objects keep changing. The eyes are unchanging. So this is basically the first step of verse 1. Third verse. Second step. Now the eyes themselves become the seen and the mind is the seer. Andhyamandhya patutveshu netra dharmeshu chaikadha sankalpayed manashrotra tvagado yojyatamidam. What this says is, the various conditions of the eyes. Andhya, I can't see. I used to be able to see very clearly earlier. Patu means very sharp vision. Mandya means dim vision. I need glasses. Or even darker, I need a cataract operation. Netra dharma, all these different conditions of the eyes, all of them are understood by the mind. So the mind is the seer and the eyes become the seen. In the same way, apply this not only to the eyes, also to the ears and the nose and the tongue and the skin, the 5 sense organs. They are all seen, experienced. By what? By the mind. So the mind is separate from all these sense organs, and the mind is the seer, unchanging comparatively, and the sense organs are changing. 4, verse number 4. Now, third step, you step back and the mind, this is the interesting step, where the mind itself becomes the seen and you are the witness of the mind. Kama sankalpa sandeho shraddha shraddhe dhriti tare rir dhir bhirityeva madin bhasayetyekadhachiti. Consciousness, the word he uses here is chiti, consciousness. Consciousness by itself shines upon all the thoughts in the mind. Kama, desire. Revealed by you, the consciousness. Sankalpa, I will do this or do that. Revealed by you, the consciousness. Sandeha, doubt. Do I understand or do I not understand? I'm not very sure. Doubt. That is also revealed by the same consciousness, which you are. Shraddha, a faith in the firm conviction, this is right. Ashraddha, I don't get this, I don't understand this, I don't like this. That is also revealed by the same consciousness. That you are the conscious self, Shankaracharya says in one of his commentaries. The one who doubts, yaeva tasya nirakarta in Sanskrit, the one who doubts that I am the Atman, it is the Atman of that very person. Because without that consciousness, you would not be aware of the doubt also. It's like, you say the cloud covers the sun. Actually, even the cloud which seems to cover the sun, that's also revealed by the same sunlight. In the same way, even a doubt comes. Is this true? Am I an infinite consciousness, unchanging consciousness, or am I just the body and mind? This very thought itself is being revealed by consciousness. So, Shraddha, Dhriti Itare. Dhriti is firm purpose. I shall finish this course which I have undertaken, the yoga teacher's training course. I'm going to finish it, see it through to the end. Itara, the other thing, the lack of determination. I feel shaky. No, it's too tough. Maybe I can't do it. All of these are revealed by the same consciousness. Modesty, intelligence, fear, all things in the mind are revealed by the same unchanging consciousness. Mind changes. Consciousness is aware of the changing mind. Fifth verse is one of my favorite verses in all of Vedantic literature. Very beautiful. It reveals the real nature. What are you? Not body, not mind, an infinite awareness. Fifth verse. No deti nastametyesha na vriddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhatyatanyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. A very beautiful verse. It says, you the consciousness, that witness, it neither rises nor sets. You know, like the sun rises and sun sets. You the consciousness, you neither rise nor set. You are ever shining. You know, even in the sun, there is no sunrise and sunset. It's from our point of view that we have a sunrise and a sunset. If you go to the sun, no sunrise and sunset. Sun is always shining. You, the consciousness, you are always shining. Na vriddhim yati nakshayam. It neither increases nor decreases. You might ask, Swami, what do you mean it doesn't decrease? I'm feeling a distinct decrease in my consciousness now. Time for bed, you know. So you're feeling a slowly consciousness. No, that's actually the mind. Consciousness reveals the alert mind. Consciousness reveals the dull mind. Consciousness reveals the sleepy mind. It's same consciousness, not increasing, not decreasing. Swayam vibhati, it shines by itself like a light. You don't need another light to reveal this light. This light shines and reveals the every object in the hall. And you don't need another light to reveal the light. Light reveals itself and everything else. You, the consciousness, you shining forth, you reveal the mind, and through the mind, the body. Through the body and mind, you reveal the world to yourself. And the consciousness is self-luminous. Bhasayet sadhanam vina. Without any instrument, it directly illumines whatever its object is. So that unchanging consciousness, Shankaracharya sings, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I'm an infinite consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. That's what Vedanta wants to say. I think I'll stop here. Yeah. All right.